Welcome to the JP8 Report. Hey, this is good day. This is James Pierce with the JP8 Report, episode 14, and it's just going to be titled 2A, as in the Second Amendment. Okay, we're just going to talk for a little bit. A lot of discussion with the administration out there, and Sheila Jackson Lee, and a few others talking about infringing on our Second Amendment rights. I figured this would be a good time to just do a podcast on this one, so we can just be aware of what's going on in our surroundings and how to be better prepared, what our rights are, which is very important. Remember, as we're getting started, I broadcast these on several different venues. We're on YouTube and Podbean and Rumble, Facebook. Don't forget, when you see my podcast, wherever it says to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe so you can get notifications from whenever I post one of my podcasts. Okay. That being said, also I'm on Parler. So if you want to see what my address is on Parler, give me a second here. I'm not full dimensional like some people are. I'm kind of low key right now. Okay, I'm gonna go back on here. I'm gonna transition back over. That's my Parler address. If you ever want to find me on Parler, James Pierce JP80. Okay, and that's my Facebook page also for the JP8 Report. So, meanwhile, back at the ranch. Don't forget, subscribe, and then share it out. Let your friends know, especially conservative friends, that I'm out there. This is all about conservative talk. So, and I don't talk about liberal things. I'm not a liberal. I've never been a liberal. That being said, we'll go into bigger and better things. Okay, Second Amendment. That's been, I believe, that was ratified in 1791 by the majority, the supermajority of the states. Is a precondition for the ratification of the Constitution itself. For the first, well, they submitted 12, and only 10 were ratified, and then one of them was ratified, I believe, in the 1990s. One of them about compensation to legislators, but not taking effect until the next legislative session, which means they had to stand for election before it would be going into effect. So, Second Amendment. Second Amendment. I'm going to read what the Second Amendment says. Okay. Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay. So if you go back and look at it again, it says a well-regulated militia. It says a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state. Okay, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. When you read that, look at where the commas are, what the thoughts are. It does not mean the establishment of the National Guard. Okay, this is the ability to us to live in a free and secure country. Okay, what they're talking about is being free of oppression by the federal government. We, at that time, that was 1791. The American Revolution officially ended in 1783. So you just 1783. So like short 8 years later, and they still didn't trust the British government because King George III was still there. Matter of fact, in 20 years, they will be fighting another war with Great Britain. Okay? So they wanted to ensure an oppressive government would not take hold into the United States, and even an oppressive government within our Constitution, just using it as a piece of paper, that it was the right of the people to defend their Constitution and their country from the powers that be. Okay? That is why we are unlike any other country in the entire world. We're a free country. Back that up by the means to defend ourselves and ensure that we continue to have a free country that's not oppressive to the citizens. Okay? So if you're always following me, you know I like to read the Federalist papers. Okay, and this one I'm going to read is, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's pretty thick. So this is Federalist 46, written by James Madison, one of the future presidents of the United States. Okay, he was very young when he wrote this, so you can't say young people don't know what's going on. This one did. Okay, so I'm going to read about one page from the Federalist paper, Federalist 46. And if you don't have a copy of it, go out and buy a copy. I mean, don't just get it on the internet, keep it on the internet. Actually, buy this thing called a book. I'll show you. See? Book. Okay? This particular book was a Christmas present from my daughters to me. And it has all the Federalist papers. It has inaugural addresses by some of the presidents, and it has the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I mean, you name it, it's got it in here. It's a whole lot. Okay, it even has Common Sense. If you ever want to read Common Sense in the pure form, it's in there too. It's not. Don't be like James. Okay, I always thought the Common Sense was a pamphlet. It was like a couple pages long until I actually read it, and it was like, oh my goodness, this was long. Okay, so just be prepared when you say, hey, I'm going to go out and read the Common Sense in one day. You may be at it for 2 days, okay, because it's in Old English. Okay, so James Madison, Federalist number 46. That'd be XLVI if you're looking in the Roman numeral area. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to jump right on into it. It says this is about 2 pages in. Federalist 46 is influence of state and federal governments compared. So it says about a page and a half into it, it says the only refuge left for those who prophesy the downfall of the state governments is the visionary supposition that the federal government may previously accumulate a military force for the projects of ambition. The reasonings contained in these papers must have been employed to little purpose indeed if it should be necessary now to disprove the reality of this danger, that the people of the state should, for a sufficient period of time, elect an uninterrupted succession of men ready to betray both, that the traitors should, throughout this period, uniformly and systematically pursue some fixed plan for the extension of the military establishment, that the governments and the people of the state should silently and patiently behold the gathering storm, and continue to supply the materials until it should be prepared to burst on their own heads, must appear to everyone like the most incoherent dreams of a delirious jealousy, or the misjudged exaggerations of a counterfeit zeal, and like the sober apprehensions of a genuine patriotism. Extravagant as the supposition is, let it however be made, let a regular army fully equal to the resources of the country be formed, and let it be entirely at the devotion of the federal government. Still, it would not be going too far to say that the state governments, with the people on their side, would be able to repel the danger. The best computation a standing army can be carried in any country does not exceed 1/100th part of the whole number of souls. So what they're doing there is, on a side note, they're trying to number how big the army can actually be, or 1/25th part of the number able to bear arms. That'd be military age males. Okay. This proportion would not yield in the United States an army of more than 25 or 30,000 men. You got to look at the population of the United States back then. To these would be opposed a militia amounting to near 500,000 citizens with arms in their hands, officered by men chosen among themselves, fighting for the common liberties, and united and conducted by governments possessing their affections and confidence. It may well be doubted whether a militia of this circumstance would ever be conquered by such a proportion of regular troops. Those are best antiquated with the last successful resistance of this country against the British arms, will be most inclined to deny the possibility of it. Besides the advantage of being armed, which the Americans possess over the people of almost every other nation, the existence of subordinate governments by which the people are attached and by which the militia officers are appointed forms a barrier against the enterprises of ambition more insurmountable than which a simple government can form of it. Notwithstanding military establishments in several kingdoms in Europe, which are carried as far as the public resources will bear, the governments are afraid to trust the people with arms. Okay? Remember, I'll say it again. To which are carried as far as the public sources will bear, the governments are afraid to trust the people with arms, and it is not certain that with this aid alone they would be able to shake off their yokes. But were the people to possess these additional advantages of local governments chosen by themselves, would collect the national will and direct the national force of the officers appointed out of the militia by these governments and attached to both of them and to the militia, it may be affirmed with great assurance that the throne of every tyranny in Europe would be speedily overturned in spite of the legions which surround it. Let us not insult the free and gallant citizens of America with the suspicion that they would be less able to defend the rights in which they would be in actual possession than the debased subjects of arbitrary power, which power would be to rescue them from the hands of their oppressors. Let us rather no longer insult them with the supposition that they can ever reduce themselves to the necessity of making the experiment by the blind and lame submission to the long train of insidious measures which must precede and produce it. Okay? That was good. That was a lot of stuff right there. But that being said, like James Madison was saying, you can't trust the government with the military and protect your rights, because you never know who 2 or 3 presidents down the road may use unethical means to get elected and oppress and violate your rights to the point where, look, this is wrong and we ain't gonna stand for it no more, and it will change. But if they disarm the American public to where we're in submission the whole time, they will get their way for generations, because you can't repel fascism or nationalism or communism or socialism or anarchy with rocks. Okay, we have to be able to defend ourselves, and that's why they came up with the Second Amendment, is to be able for us to defend our rights as citizens in the United States. And they use that magic word that's everywhere in there. It's called shall. Okay, shall is an arbitrary term which means it will happen like this. Okay, so if it says shall not be infringed, it means it won't happen. So I don't know where they can go into the Constitution and say we're going to ban your ability to be able to carry weapons. Okay, if you think you know, comment on my podcast. Send me an email, jp8report@gmail.com. I am happy to review what you're saying to me. I firmly believe I'm a card-carrying life member of the National Rifle Association, and I firmly believe out of my cold, dead hands, my right to own a weapon, it is my right to own a weapon. I may agree with not owning machine guns, because a machine gun is a weapon of war. A machine gun is a fully automatic weapon that I'm sorry, I got distracted. Well, military weapons like an M60 machine gun, an M249 machine gun, M240 Bravo machine gun, a Muldoose, something that has a continuous rate of fire, a belt-fed, drum-fed weapon system. Okay, that's linked together. That is a weapon of war. And then before you can tell me that, well, an AR-15 is a weapon of war because it's an assault rifle. AR and the AR-15 does not mean assault rifle. Okay, it does not mean automatic rifle. Okay, it means Armalite. Okay, Armalite rifle version 15. Okay, is a precursor to the M16. Okay, military 16. Okay, the difference, I would tell you, two differences. When I came in the Army, I went to basic training in 1986 at Fort Dix, New Jersey. My version of the M16 I used the M16A1, and it had, matter of fact, my weapon was old because they used to stamp the date of manufacture on the magazine well. So they would have safe, semi, and auto. Those are the three selectors on M16A1. In 1993, when I got to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, we got brand spanking new M16A2s, which had safe, semi, and burst. So they got rid of the automatic and reduced it back to 3-arm burst to save on the consumption of ammunition in a firefight. Okay, so 3 rounds is enough. 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds. Do it 10 times, expend a 30-round magazine. And just because you can fire an M16 800 rounds per minute does not mean you're going to continuously be able to fire an M16 at 800 rounds per minute, because your upper receiver will melt on you and it'll be an ineffective weapon. Okay. So Armalot Rifle was designed in 1957 and then developed into the M16 and just go up. So we've been using the military, the M14 transitioned in the mid 1960s, I believe, and we've been using some variation of the M16 since then, or the M4 carbine is what I used before I retired. They're all 5.56 weapons. And then to go through, also you had the National Firearms Act of 1934, which is the very first attempt of the federal government to restrict the of the federal government to restrict the rights of people to own weapons. Okay, and what they did was they were going to ban the possession of machine guns and sawed-off shotguns. Okay, and I'm reviewing paper right here. I got this from encyclopedia.com about the National Firearms Act, and so the reasoning behind it was there was gangsters roving through the United States in the 20s and 30s, like John Dillinger, Bonnie and Clyde, and Al Capone. He was the most famous, I guess. So they were going to try, and they ran into constitutional questions about that, and it was not going to pass. Okay, so the compromise they came up was, if you had a shotgun or rifle with a barrel less than 18 inches in length, or any other weapon except for a rifle or pistol for which a shot is discharged by an explosive, such a weapon, and a machine gun. Okay, it prohibited you from selling it to someone else unless you paid a $200 tax on that. So basically, you had to keep possession of the weapon, and if you wanted to sell that weapon is when you had to pay the tax on that weapon, that $200 fee, okay, or tax. Okay, that is as far as the National Firearms Act of 1934 went. So lots of people out there saying, well, we were banning machine guns back then. Well, no, it doesn't. Okay. Let's see, what else do I got here? We got that done, and then I got another deal from Time Magazine, and it was published in 2019. Okay. And it goes through the basic gun control laws in the United States. It goes 1791, December 15th, is when the First Amendment to the Constitution was ratified. 1934, we just went over about the $200 tax. It was set at $200 because it was a very expensive tax. That was $200 was a lot of money in the 1930s, so they that's where it was set. So if they did the same thing today, it'd probably be about $2,000 for them to do something like that. Okay, but I do believe it's unconstitutional to do that. Let's see, 1938 required people, if you wanted to sell weapons, you had to get FFL, Federal Firearms License. Okay, but then that was repealed in 1968. Okay, 1968 was in relation to what do you call it? To the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. Okay, and it dealt with importing guns that have no sporting purpose. Okay, and then you had to be 21 to be able to purchase a pistol. Okay, so no more buying German rifles and stuff like that. Okay, 1986, Firearm Owners Protection Act passed by Congress. It says 86, the law mainly enacted protection of gun owners, prohibiting a national registry of dealer records, limiting the ATF inspections to once per year unless there are multiple infractions, softening what is defined as engaging in the business of selling firearms and allowing licensed dealers to sell firearms at gun shows in their state. It also loosened regulations on the sale and transfer of ammunition. So the unnecessary infusion of harassment by the ATF was the purpose of this one. Okay, and then it said you could The defining silencer include parts intended to make silencers, so you're not supposed to be able to make silencers after that. And then came the 1993 Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, and that was signed into law by President Clinton. And then required NICS. Okay, anytime you go in there and buy a weapon, you got to get a background check. Okay. And then 2003 is rogue dealers. I dealt with rogue dealers. Those are called straw buyers. Okay. Supreme Court is firmly hey, you know, the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment, and they pick and stab at everything there is about the Second Amendment. Liberals just don't like us being able to protect ourselves and protect the Constitution and protect the country. Okay, they want to shut us up. They want to shut us up and tell us to sit down, put our thumb in our mouth, and watch TV and watch their little liberal junk that's coming out of the radio and coming out of the TV, and pacify and just sit back and let the direct deposits come with all this extra free $30 trillion debt money that comes into our bank accounts, because we don't want to do nothing. We don't want to pay taxes. We just want to sit around and take 2 and 3 week vacations every year, and get us so heavily in debt that all that just goes around, goes around, goes around. Free medicine, free Social Security, free retirement benefits. Have union representation where we can make $30 an hour and pay 10 of that in union dues, and you know, and then pay more in taxes, because you get all this free, and go in debt. Next thing you know, we're all going to be paying taxes at the 50+ rate, because we'll have to pay off our debts. Wrong answer. Okay, that's where the Second Amendment comes in. It allows us to protect our Constitution. Everyone's Constitution. Doesn't mean you're red, yellow, black, white. It does not matter. We're all Americans, and we are here to protect our country, our way of life. No matter if you live in a country, live in a ranch, live in a city, anywhere you live. Okay, this is our country, ours together. Okay, male, female, red, yellow, black, white. It does not matter. Okay, a couple of ways you could do. In Texas, we have license to carry, where you can do open carry or concealed carry. There's a big movement abreast right now in Texas to do away with the license to carry, so we have constitutional carry. The good thing about constitutional carry would be that there's no records of who has a license to carry. I know some people say that's dangerous. You know what? What would be more dangerous? The person that knows that they're not supposed to carry a weapon and they're not carrying it, or the government getting their hands on a database of everybody that has a license to carry, and shows where we live, what weapons we have, because you're never going to hear me tell you what weapons I have, what kind of magazines I have, what kind of ammunition I possess, and where I go shoot at. Okay, you'll never hear that from me. Okay, my personal business, the government has no right to know what I own. Flat out. Okay, so that was a long rant today. Okay, it wasn't a rant, it was the truth. The Second Amendment ensures the preservation of the First Amendment, the Freedom Amendment, okay, of 5 basic freedoms. And if you don't know what they are, go read it. Okay, don't trust the government. I used to joke around when I was running for office the first time. I used to say, look, I'm not one of those politicians. I'm not one of them to come up and say, hey, I'm with the government. I'm here to help. When was the government ever really able to really truthfully help you when it wasn't something that would benefit them in return. Okay? So, I'm not with the government, and I'm not here to help you. Okay? That's what they should be doing. We are Americans. We take care of each other. I'm a Texan. Okay? You see it behind me, Texas flag. I'm a true Texan, born and raised in Texas, and I live in Texas. Texans take care of other Texans, no matter what. We just went through a major ice storm here. We took care of each other. The president's going to be in Houston today. He's probably in Houston because that's where most of the Democrats in Texas live, either in Dallas or Houston, in Austin. And I wouldn't go to Austin right now anyway because of the legislatures and such. He would feel inferior at that point anyway. But I dare him to come blast his leftist rhetoric in Killeen or Belton or Abilene or Midland. Oh yeah, I dare him to go to Midland. Oh, we just canceled XL pipeline and we're going to do with all this fracking. Yeah, okay. I dare him to go to Midland. I dare his people. Beto O'Rourke, wait a minute, Robert Francis O'Rourke Jr., you know, he's a joke. And if he's going to run for governor, it'll be a landslide. I guess he ain't learned his lesson. I'm going to be a senator. He got trashed. Even though he was a $100 million man, he got trashed. And then he gets, oh, I'm going to run for president. He got trashed again. So I think he thinks he could take on our sitting governor right now and win. Excuse me. Okay, spend $150 million. It ain't going to get you nowhere, O'Rourke. Just take your happy butt back to El Paso and try to help out some of them people that really need the help. Okay? And get a job. Write some songs. From what I was told, you're a pretty good songwriter. Just get out of politics. Okay? And leave us Texans alone. But that's what we're here. Live and die as a Texan. Okay? So here's to the Second Amendment out of a cold, dead hand.